I'm Hormagaunt 1, and I want to rank every single Tyranid model there is to help me decide what army I'm going to collect in Warhammer 40k. So the first model on the tier list is the Barbed Hero Duel. Barbed Hero. I like the way he looks. Cool gun arms. Spiky, interesting color scheme. I like his vibe, you know. I like his vibe. I'd say a big toothy grin. A tier. Straight up A tier. Hormagaunts. Ugly. Ugly, bugly, bad. I don't like the way they're hunched over. It makes them look like old and like not very mobile. It's just not my kind of thing at all. It looks a bit like the the AT&T walkers from Star Wars, but like a weird bug version. That is a solid C tier. That's a C tier model right there. Okay, so this is this comes as a pair, right? So it's the Biovore and the Pyrovore. They're basically the same model. Initial thoughts. Tank crab. Yes. One must be fire, right? It's Pyrovore, and the other one is just like shooting stuff. Pyrovore sounds way cooler. There's like flames flying out of the top. That would be really sick. A tier, right up there, above the Barbie, the Barbie hero guy. Alright, so up next we have the Broodlord. I don't like this guy. I don't like that he's pale. I don't like that he's kind of humanoidy. I just have an aversion to these Tyranids that look like kind of humans, and I just think the color scheme that GW's done is just kind of ugly. I know you can paint it in a different one, but it reminds me a bit of the Ood from Doctor Who, but that isn't a good thing in this case. I don't like his freaky ass tongue. Not a fan. That is a D tier model. Okay, and then next on the list is the Malceptor. This guy's got a pretty interesting shape. I really like the exposed brain. That's pretty cool. It's like almost the top half kind of looks a bit like a facehugger from Alien, but it also looks like you could just grab the top like shell carapace thing and just rip that off, which is kind of, I don't really like that. I would say B tier model. I like the pincers and everything, but nothing that really grabs me, you know, nothing that makes me want to pay for it. Alright, Death Leaper / I think the Lictor is the same model, but we'll just do the Death Leaper for now. This is actually major Ood vibes. I like the scythes a lot, and like the claws are pretty cool, but I don't know, it just doesn't feel like a very Tyranid model to me. This feels more like a different thing entirely. I think it's the Ood tentacles always for me give like Cthulhu sea monster, and that's not very Tyranid. Like, that being said, I would like to see an Ood cosplay of the Death Leaper. I think that would be fun. Death Leaper seems alright, but C tier. Okay, immediately, Bug Tank. This exocrine thing? Exocrine? That's cool. That's so cool. There's not really much to critique about a massive bug with a cannon on top of it. I like the cannon. I like how it's still got like these hulking legs and these pincers at the front that keep it like a very bug themed kind of guy. I think generally with Tyranids, I really like how you can you can like project a personality onto them. This is why I like Hormagaunts so much. You can sort of give them any kind of personality you like. You know, like in like the movie Cars, how they're meant to be inanimate, but as soon as you like give them googly eyes, they're like their own thing entirely. You know, Lightning McQueen. Okay, so up next we've got the Gargoyles and the Gene Stealers. I'm putting them together because I have the same problem with both. It's the same problem that I have with the Broodlord. Kind of, the Gene Stealers too human-like. They don't feel super buggy, and I want my bugs to feel like bugs. I don't want them to feel like people. With these other guys, the flying ones, the Gargoyles, right? I like the idea of them like flying in, shock troops, like shooting things from above. But if you're gonna do a gargoyle, it's gotta look like a gargoyle, you know? But these just feel like not that well thought through, and like before, I have an issue with Tyranids being super pale and being like humanoidy. So that's a miss from me. Both of those guys, straight D tier. If you're going to do gargoyles, you better be doing pre-rework Galio from League of Legends. That's the only valid gargoyle I've seen in video games so far. Okay, so the next one's a Tyranid Harpy. So it's just a big gargoyle. I'm a hypocrite, though, because I actually think this one's kind of cool. I think because it's a bit more, like, it's on a bigger scale, it doesn't suffer from the same issues of being super pale. If maybe it had legs, I think it would be a bit cooler for me. From purely a model perspective, the fact that it's got this weird thick stand, I also don't like it that much. I would say for me, the Tyranid Harpy, let's put her down in B tier. You know, like, it's pretty cool, like a flying bus with guns, but not my absolute favorite of the Tyranid work here. Okay, then we have this big green dragon, which I think it's probably not going to be super surprising. My issue with it is it's not Tyranidy enough. This could be your generic dragon from, like, anything, right? It doesn't feel specific to Tyranids. It just feels like a fantasy dragon. It feels like any kind of dragon in anything. Yeah, I feel like no one's probably building and using this anyway. But that is one huge model that I don't really love. I think I'll put the Harridian in C tier. The Horspecs. So this is the Tyranid Horspecs. I think it's pretty cool. Like, I like how it's just like a mass of flesh coming out of it. It's like giving the thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just sort of like a mangled mess of flesh. And that's pretty cool. I think my issue with it, apart from those sick pincers at the bottom, which is like super bug and beetle-like, my issue with it is hard to figure out what's going on. Like, it kind of just looks like a Musath Vortex Beast, but put some bug parts on there. So, you know, that being said, conceptually, really cool. Like, you've got this thing which has pincers at the bottom and just like crazy amounts of arms and legs and flesh and talons coming out of its mouth. Like, that's really cool and pretty, like, gory to think about. So I would say just above the Tyranid Harpy in B tier for the horse specs on that one. No idea how good these are in game, though, by the way. This is purely just off looking at them and thinking of whether or not I would enjoy owning one and staring at it, because that is what I imagine is a lot of the hobby. Alright, so then next, it's another one of these, what look like huge models. But it's this spider that's, like, arching the out of its back. It's the Bio-Titan, I think, right? This huge spider. I think that's going to be our first S-tier model. You don't get more bug-like than literally having a massive spider model. I like how buggy it is. Now, you could argue that it's got the same issues as the dragon, where it doesn't feel super like a Tyranid. But to that, I would say these are not opinions, these are facts, and I'm correct. So this Bio-Titan is so awesome, because it's got those guns, like, underneath its head, and, like, oh, man, that is so cool. That is so cool. Like, that dual, the two rifles underneath its head, and it's these massive pincers. Yeah, that is an S-tier model right there. Absolutely. Nah. Like, it's got too much of this fleshy stuff going on. I love the gun mouth. Who doesn't like a gun mouth? Like, that's cool. And it's giving, like, StarCraft 2 Broodlord with these little guys underneath its wings. Unfortunately, though, same issue as the Broodlord, as Gene Stealers, as the Gargoyles. It's too pale. It doesn't feel buggy enough. I like the little guys underneath it, but it's a D tier for the Hive Crone. Okay, and then next up, we've got these look like, I'm assuming, Tyranid versions of Terminators. This is the Hive Guard. Why are they so chill? They're, like, just holstering that weapon and just holding it in one hand, just, like, resting it. Or maybe it's, like, intertwined with their flesh. Again, no surprise. It's too humanoid for me. I don't like it when they have arms and they have legs. They've got, like, normal proportions. Although, like, the stance on this one looks a little bit like Orisa from Overwatch. Like that horse tank character. But yeah, not a huge fan of these guys. Like the way their carapace sort of comes over their head, but yeah, like a Contemptor Dreadnought, right? It looks like a Contemptor Dreadnought crossed with Orisa from Overwatch. But for me, that is not my vibe. Better than the pale guys. At least these guys are purple in the GW photos. I don't like their posture and their silhouette and that kind of thing. So that'll be bottom of C tier. Okay, so next up we're looking at the Hive Tyrant. So that is hardcore. This guy's hardcore. Damn. That huge sword and this gun that's fused into his arm. I would have preferred it if the gun was just the arm though. You know what I mean? If the gun was how in Videodrome where the guy's hand gets stuck with the gun. Why are Tyranid guns when it's these smaller characters, they're external to the rest of the body, you know? I guess there's probably a lore reason, but I don't like that as much. This huge sword, and if the gun was its left arm, A tier, S tier model, but because of that pipe, B tier, just below the Tyranid Harpy, I think. Okay, next up's my favourites. So here we have the Hormagaunts. My guys, pure S tier, best model in the line. I could talk about Hormagaunts for so long, but generally what I like about them so much is they remind me of Zerglings from StarCraft 2. I used to play a pretty decent amount of StarCraft 2 back in the day, and I only ever knew how to do one thing, because I was 14, I didn't know how to play, which was Zergling Rush, and that just made me fall in love with purple small aliens in particular, so we're already seeing the connection here. And also, in Jurassic Park, those raptor dinosaur things, I just love those two. I just think that they're just so cool. And I like how I was saying before with the exocrine, when you can put a personality on a group of things, and I feel they're this huge grin these Hormagaunts have, they're just having a fucking whale of a time. They're having the best time. They're having a little party on the battlefield, But I really like these guys. I like the swarm vibes. I like how they kind of feel like the raptors from Jurassic Park. I like how they remind me of Zerglings. Definitely prefer them to termagants, because they just have the claws, right? They're really digging around in there. They're getting all up in it. Okay, right, so that's S tier for Hormagaunts. Okay, so after Hormagaunts, we're on a roll right now. This guy looks insane. What even is that? A Trigon. Damn. That's huge. Okay, so there's two models in this, right? So, I don't know. This is either the Trigon or it's the other one. Whatever that's called. The Trigon or the Morlock. But both of them, incredible models. Both of them immediately S tier. It's like a centipede crossed with a snake, added on scythe claws. That is so cool. I really am so intrigued on what its rules are and how it would work in game without just getting completely shot down. But that is really incredible. I love that so much. Wow, that's great. S tier. This next model, is it a mucusloid Spore? Nah. Nah. I like my bugs to be bugs. I don't like this Spore mushroom guy. It's definitely, that's not for me. That's straight up D tier. It's a Zerg Overlord. That's what that reminds me of. It's a Zerg Overlord, but in 40k. So unless you can put in Hormagaunts that are going to explode when you drop them, I'm not interested. There we go. That's it. D tier. This looks like just a budget version of Hormagaunts and Termagants. These guys are what exactly? These guys are Neurogaunts. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm sure they have some really interesting purpose in game. I like the captain character guy that seems to have brains on top, but these guys really remind me of the Alien Covenant baby. You remember that movie? They just remind me of the weird tiny alien in that for some reason. I think it's the way they're hunched over and the way their head sort of protrudes outside from the body. but not a fan of Neurogaunts. They just look a bit slow, they look a bit sluggish, but still B tier. You know, they're like Termagant, Hormagaunt adjacent, and I'm a big fan of the Alien franchise, even those terrible movies that have come out in the last couple of years. Alright, so next up we have the Neuralictor. That's pretty cool. Again, it's giving Ood, but it's giving like Ood Captain, like big bad Ood. I like that a lot. I like the way I love these models that have the little extra thing on the base as well. That really increases my likelihood of wanting to buy them. Yeah, it doesn't break into the top of A tier, I don't think, though. Probably stay at the bottom of A tier, I reckon, but still a really cool sculpt. And definitely improves on the other Ood-esque models that they've got in here. This is the Neuro Tyrant. That is a sick name. The base is really cool. Actually, the base is really cool. And I love the Megamind sort of exposed brain on the top there. I think, generally speaking, I just like these Tyranids that feel a little bit more like little bugs and that kind of thing. So the Neurotyrant is not my kind of flavor, but still a really cool model. But based off vibes alone, B tier. Just below the Hive Tyrant. Okay, we've got the Norn Assimilator and the Norn Emissary. This Norn Emissary is so sick. Like, he's got this like one long finger that just reminds me of that really old vine. And I love how it's like a bigger Hive Tyrant, and it's got, you know, you can see that huge brain out the back of it. So I'm assuming it's like a Psycho model. And I like it how it's got both hands and talons. That is also really cool. Although it does kind of feel like you could just pick it up by its two like back things and swing it around. But I definitely prefer the Norn Emissary to the Norn Assimilator. The Norn Assimilator is giving like weird Broodlord tongue vibes, but the Norn Emissary isn't. So that is my opinion on those two. Norn Emissary A, Norn Assimilator B. Alright, so up next we actually have the one Tyranid actual character that I'm aware of, which is Old One Eye. It's really cool, you know. I'm a lore guy. I think it's really cool that you can actually have Tyranids that have these, you know, signs of battle damage. I don't really know how it works though, because surely it would just get replaced or saved or whatever, healed by the hive mind. But yeah, pretty tanky. It's got definitely an interesting silhouette going on, and this like great axe tail is really cool. And I really like the way they've done it up on these stock images for it. That's A tier. That's going to be just behind the Pyro and Biovores. Really cool. If I had a gun, maybe it'd be higher. Alright, so then up next, we've got the Parasite of Mortrex, which is like a sick name. That should be like on its desk, you know. It's like got an office. It's got one of those like, when you go into your manager's office, it's got that little sign. It's like embossed and it has its own parking space. Like the Parasite of Mortrex. That is so cool. It's the only pale model I think so far that really pulls it off. Yeah, it's like a bat with a bunch of claws. Like what is there to dislike about that, you know? I like the way that they've actually got it stood on its end, like it's on its tail end. And I'm sure it's an absolute nightmare to play against, but you could paint that up so nicely if you tried. So that would be definitely A tier for the Parasite of Mortrex. Okay, and then we've also got the Winged Hive Tyrant. Definitely like that more than the normal Hive Tyrant, because it just looks like the Parasite of Mortrex. I think this is what the gargoyles should be more like, you know? Bigger wingspan, less just tail. I wish they had legs. This guy has legs. Yeah, pretty cool model. Not an awful lot to say about this one, because it's so similar to the Parasite of Mortrex. But yeah, flying shock trooper with wings. What else could you ask for, really? A tier, I reckon, for the Winged Hive Tyrant. Okay, so next we have the psychophage, which I didn't expect to be liking this model as much as I am right now, because it kind of falls outside of the ones I've liked a lot so far. It doesn't have a gun. It doesn't have anything like super crazy about it. It is also a bit Ood-like. It's a bit like Call of Cthulhu, but I think it really pulls it off. This like blue goo coming off the top, where it's like squirting it out like jelly. And the way it's like, also it's eating an ultramarine arm or something, which, you know, that's a good thing. You know, it makes me feel good about paying the model. The details on this go kind of crazy as well. Like these little like almost metallic nubs coming out the back of it. And I love the like barbed tentacle mouth that it's got going on. That's really cool and pretty gnarly, you know, pretty disgusting, pretty out there. Psychophage is going to go all the way up to the top of A tier, above the Exocrine. Okay, for some reason, Ripper Swarms are their own model on here. I guess they are their own model. Have a guess how I feel about these guys. This is literally Zerglings. This is Zerglings in 40k. I have no idea how they work, but tiny swarms of weird little bugs that are going to, like, destroy you. It's like that movie Piranha 3D. Like, it's like having piranhas that you can field as part of like your like battle line troops. Like that is so cool. Probably a nightmare to paint, but yeah, it's like tiny little Zerglings, there's little piranhas that are gonna come out. That's so awesome. So S tier for those. Okay, so this next one's a Screamer Killer. Now, I think it's kind of cool. Like, I like how it has no arms. It's like pure like hulking mass, but its pose really reminds me of the Assault Form Flood from Halo 3, and in my brain that just feels such like it just feels really generic, the way to have like a Tyranid looking like that. So I think this one's gonna be in B tier purely because it reminds me of the Assault Form Flood, and I like the Flood, I like Halo 3, but I just think it's a very generic bruiser like silhouette, right? It's not gonna be up there for me, unfortunately. It's gonna stick in B tier where it belongs. Okay, so next we have the Swarmlord. I think this guy is again one of the best ones that you can get. Like purely on the way he looks like an absolute savage. Like the swords and everything, like it just improves on the Hive Tyrant in every single way. It's like, yeah, like samurai Tyranid bug. He looks like an intimidating mass, and he's got 4 swords. Like, that is so cool. He wants to be Zorro so bad. Oh, 5, I guess, if you count the one on his head. I didn't even see that. That's mad. Yeah, this guy's an absolute beast. I would absolutely go for this guy. That is so cool. Swarmlord, that is absolutely A tier. Maybe yeah, that's Swarmlord S tier, just below, at the bottom of S tier. I love that guy. That's so cool. Okay, so termagants. It's termagant time. I love these little guys. They remind me of grunts from Halo. Like, they've got these massive like rocket launchers on there. It reminds me of, you know, when grunts can have the fuel rod cannons. The Covenant are so cool. And so are termagants. Like a swarm of these guys with their little guns and their like huge rocket launchers. I just think they're really sick. I mean, actually, to be fair, these termagants look kind of like jackals too, especially like the sniper jackals and that kind of thing. Anything reminiscent of other media I love, I'm just so biased towards. But yeah, swarms of these guys, probably super annoying to paint, but I would be 100% down for that. That's an S tier group of models right there. Okay, so we're coming towards the end of the list here. What have we got left? Yo, that guy looks insane. I think we have found the Tyranid equivalent, actually, of the Broodlord from StarCraft 2. Like, my favourite thing to do in that game was literally upgrade the Overlords so they could carry units, upgrade my Zerglings to Banelings, and just drop them on the enemy base. That is so cool. That is such a... if that's a transport unit, that's insane. Literally, yeah, the same as an Overlord. Baneling drop, like... oh, man. That is such an interesting... like, that's... the way they've thought of that as well. It literally looks like the alien queen. And it's just, like, birthing it from its stomach. And it's, like, emerging. What a sick model, man. What a sick model. That's, yeah, absolutely S tier. It reminds me of the Alien Queen. It reminds me of my childhood days of Baneling drops on StarCraft 2. Okay, so now we've got Hive... is it Hive Guard, I think? Tyranid Warriors, my bad. I guess these are the actual elite unit, but I just don't like the way they look. it just isn't giving like super elite to me for some reason. It's like, I don't know, they look a bit flimsy, and I wish they didn't just have this armor carapace on the head. I wish it was on the rest of their body. And it doesn't really remind me of much outside of this. They've got like this weird Drakari style whip, and I don't really understand what that would be for when you've got a gun and a sword. Tyranid warriors, C tier, same as the Hive Guard or whatever. That's definitely C tier right there. And then we have the Toxin. Is that related to the Exocrine in any way? But yeah, he's got these big tendrils, and I think that's kind of cool. I like how he's standing on like a Blood Angel Terminator. Like, that's also pretty sick. The exposed brain sort of pushing through the carapace. But I wish it wasn't just tendrils. I wish there was more to it, you know? I wish there was more to it. Very Cthulhu again. It's giving Sea Monster. It's giving Loch Ness. But, hey, it is killing a Blood Angel, so that definitely gets points from me. Toxin, that it's going to be C tier for sure. Alright, then we have another one of these, like, floating head things in the Tyrannocyte. I mean, it kind of looks a bit more like a traditional parasite, right? Whoa. It can open up? That's pretty cool. It gets points for being able to open up if you want to. But it just, like I was saying before, what I like about Tyranids is how they kind of have, you can put your own personality on them. And with something like this, it's just a floating orb. It's the ood, but it's the orb they hold. Like, it's just not doing it for me. I like how it can open up, but it's staying in D tier where it belongs. I'm just not all in for this guy. I think the absolute opposite can be said for the next model on this list, which is, I believe, to be the Tyrannofex, because the Tyrannofex is everything I like about Tyranids, apart from the swarm stuff, because it's not a swarm unit. Like, it not only is it actually holding the gun as it's part of its arm, it's also got, like, pincers, and it's also a big unit. Like, that's so cool. It's like a tank that it's, like, actually walking towards you while aiming. That's so cool. There's, like, no qualms with that in any way. And, like, the little eyes on the gun, they're, like, fleshy bit as well. I think because it's a bigger model than something like the Hive Guard or the Tyrant Guard, whatever it is, it pulls it off way better. Yeah, I really like the Tyrannofex. That guy, I feel like when I like them, I have less to say. But the Tyrannofex is definitely going all the way into S tier. I think that's absolutely a given. That is such an insane cool model. So cool. Von Ryan's Leapers, now that's pretty cool. I like how it sort of feels more dynamic than the Death Leaper. I like how they're smaller as well. They retain more of that, like, bug feeling. And I feel like it would just, like, it looks like it's jumping off my screen into my face, and that's really sick. Be kind of spiky to paint, though. I'm sure that's an absolute nightmare. But really cool model. I think I like how they come in, like, a little group as well. I think that really helps sells the idea. One of these guys, yeah, okay, they don't all have, like, the ood head either. They have, like, a Hive Guard head too. Yeah, I mean, I like scythes. This is basically an ood with scythes again. Yeah, Von Ryan's Leapers. No idea who Von Ryan is, but his Leapers are an A tier for sure. We have some more of these blue and red figures. I'm not super fond of these guys. I thought I would like them more because the color scheme is pretty cool, and they have this whole, like, Megamind brain thing going on, but they're just not really doing it for me. I'm just gonna have to stick them with the rest of these, like, more floating, what I'm assuming are more like psychic units, because it's just not my sort of thing. It'd be D tier. And then finally, the last model on here is a kind of another generic bruiser guy. Not a huge fan of him either. I reckon just already calling it's gonna be like a B tier model. Tyranid Prime. Optimus Prime? Tyranid Prime? If you painted a Tyranid Prime like Optimus Prime, that would be pretty cool. But it's not. It's like a generic bruiser guy with Mr. Tumble legs. Alright, well then, this is the whole tier list. But this has been a blast to make, and I reckon I kind of want to look at the Tyranid lore as well.
and then go through maybe a couple other armies over time. I just thought I wanted to see someone go through all the models Tyranids have and sort of talk about them a little bit. But this is just pure vibes, first impressions, just however I felt about them when I looked at them. I don't know if they're good. Maybe all of the models that I've chosen are terrible. You guys will have to let me know. But there we go. That's objectively the coolest Tyranid models that are available to buy right now. So if you want the coolest models that Tyranids have, just buy all of the S and A tier ones, because, like I said earlier on, this isn't an opinion. These are just facts.